Bandwidth for First Updates Now is supported by AndyMark. Are you competition ready? Go to andymark.com and keep your team inspired. And by the Blue Alliance. Keep up to date on all live and archived First Robotics events and team stats at thebluealliance.com. First Updates Now is brought to you by viewers like you. Fun relies on the generous support of our fans in order to continue to keep creating content. Please consider donating, giving bits, or subscribing. Subscribe for a few bucks a month or for free through Twitch Prime. And don't forget that our subscribers get 5x chance to win on all giveaways.
Hey, what's up everyone, and welcome to We the North Recap. Tonight's show, we will talk about launches versus lifters, what went down in the North last week, preview week 4, and talk about the top 10 list. My name is, reporting for First Updates Now, I am Praneeth Trivedi.
I'm Parth Patel.
I'm Dan Nabrkowski.
And I'm Lenny De La Cruz.
Today's discussion is manipulators, launchers, placeholders, and hybrids. How do they fit in an alliance? With what guy do you think the other one should pair up with? Let's start with, are launchers able to dominate the Switch?
Yeah, we'll just go right into that. So the biggest advantage I feel like launchers have is they're lower to the ground, so they're able to play Switch game much better than lifters. Lifters can still do it. There are still examples of lifters doing it amazingly, but I just think that switches on average, or launchers on average, are going to be much better at the Switch game. That's just what I found. Let's go over to Lenny.
As a team that did lifter, I know when we were talking about in the beginning, we were doing our game analysis. We valued the a cube pretty high. We didn't want to waste time chasing one or dropping one or overshooting, so we didn't even consider doing a launcher. But there's a lot of really good examples out there from a lot of really good teams on how to do a really good launcher. I just know that for our resources and the time that we would have needed to be able to make that work, it just wasn't feasible for us. But I just don't still see how a launcher can be better than a lifter. I mean, I know that Parth can say something different because that's what his team did, but I'm curious what you guys, even Dan too. Dan, what do you think?
I mean, I think that they definitely have a higher ceiling. Launchers can be better than lifters if they spend all the time tuning it and everything's working out well and they have a great drive team. If all things are perfect, then I think launchers are going to can dominate the game. I think lifters are definitely a safer option, and they definitely have a place in the alliance. I think one launcher and one lifter is going to be the best system going forward. Or Parth may have a different idea. Parth?
Actually, I mean, you and I are biased to launchers, but I mean, I think I agree with you entirely. I think a good alliance is going to have a launcher and a lifter. I think the advantage to a launcher is the first few cubes. You know, you get the speedy cycles, right? You want early ownership so that you force your opponents to play the game your way. And I think a launcher can help you do that. I mean, obviously, there's examples of great lifters that are just super, super efficient and fast, but I think a good launcher can outcycle a good lifter, and that gives you the advantage early on, which is kind of important in this game. And then from there on, you're going to need placement because already it's week 3 and we're seeing scales 8, 9, 10 cubes on there, and it's hard at that point for a launcher. I mean, I'll speak for my teammate. We have a lower ceiling than a lifter, and that's just something that was a design trade-off for us, and we think it's okay, but I know going forward, we're going to hope to end up with somebody who can place a little better than us. Praneeth, you're a team that can place a little better than us. How about you take this off?
Yeah, well, we'll find out how much better or worse we are this coming week when Team Dave competes at Waterloo. But I think overall, both of you guys are on. I can't say you're wrong because, I mean, 610 has a proven blue banner. And there's enough teams with an elevator and a lifter who have blue banners this season as well. So there's both sides to it. But I will tell you that there is a fine line in between where I agree with it. That I think the early cube placement is as crucial as it is. A well-driven and a well-tuned elevator can keep up in some of the cases. So I think it's going to be a tough pick for someone who is competing against a good launcher, which is also being driven well. Um, and one thing that if you're making a lifter that you have to keep in mind is you don't want to turn around as much. So I think what teams like 254, teams like 1114, or teams like 1678, what they do is that either score through the elevator or they score above them, which gives them slight advantage in autonomous versus some of the shooters, which have to cycle back to the back wall or what have you to make sure to catch up like that. I think that pretty much sums up what I think of launchers versus lifters. In my opinion, obviously, a lifter is better than a launcher in the long run. This is my design decision.
Don't agree.
Don't agree. Yeah.
This
Dead
is like
wrong.
the pineapple on pizza debate all over again.
Hey man, I will go back to that saying
We're not going back to that.
Okay, fine. We're not
I do
going to
have
go
a-
back to that.
If you're
I do
Well,
have a quick question for you, Parth. As a team that is actually a launcher, what do you think is the most difficult part when you're actually playing the game on the field? Besides, probably having, the biggest balls on the field for making a design. But what's the difficult part? Be able to play the match with all the robots on the field. What do you think?
Honestly, the hardest thing I find is tuning the shot. Like on 610, anyway, we've shot so many shots. Like there was a day where all we did was we were in the field house and we are just putting shots up on the scale. And by the end of the day, my kids were just like, they were zombies because it was just so like brain numbingly boring of just shooting and writing down numbers, shooting and writing down numbers. And our operator, like, it's a joystick with 12 buttons and they're all used for something. There's a different preset for every angle, every height, are we pushing another cube? Are we scoring on top of it? Like there's just too much control required. I think with an elevator and some decent programming skills, you can actually have the advantage as a lifter because you're limiting the amount of control that is needed, which I think is a huge advantage to a lifter. But I still disagree with Praneet.
I will give you that your drivers, as I noticed the event went along at Durham College a couple of weeks ago, is your drive team was getting better at deciding what preset to use when, and they were running all the cubes from the front to the back, and then they were layering up in a triangle toward the back wall, and that was really, really smart of them. So kudos to you if you were the one who taught them that. But yeah, I like to not use all 12 buttons on a controller. And keep it simple for my drive team. So I like my elevator buddy.
Yeah, I mean, if you're listening on chat, there's this straw poll that Tyler posted. We'd love to hear your opinions to help us settle this, at least internally between Praneet and myself. I know Dan agrees with shooters. Dan, who's your favorite shooter on this world stage so far?
4481, dude. Like, they just knocked it out of the park with just their entire robot. It's just beautiful. They can pass through. Their shot is just a perfect little oop. And right onto the scale, there's very little bounce to it. They're just amazing. Like, and that's coming from me, who's on a team who has their own catapult launcher. They're just so good.
Okay. Well, I think what we'll do is we'll keep an eye on the straw poll as as our session goes along. But what we will do is we'll go back on the recap, and last week brought out another set of well-known teams out of the covers for the first time and gave others a chance to improve upon lessons learned from their first events. So let's start off week 3 with Dan.
All right, so I was in my area. We have 2 regionals. First off is Greater Kansas City, right after Heartland last week. And finally, we saw Titanium back to their typical standard after a rough first regional. They were putting cube after cube in the scale and the lift, or switch rather, and just nonstop. And they easily took the first seed and picked 1723, first spots of independence. And together they blitzed through the quarter and the semifinals. On the other side of the bracket, we saw 3 upsets. First, with a 7th seed of 5801, CTC Inspire, and 3284 Camdenton defeating the 2nd seed in a tough 3 matches. In the end, the 7th seed had a stronger auto that allowed for them to keep control of the game and win the tiebreaker. The second upset was the 6th seed alliance of 1763 Passalians? I don't know if I'm saying that right, but 1987 Broncobots as well, and they defeated the 3rd seed of 5013 Trobots and 935 Rally Robotics. The 6th seed had an incredible scale-oriented alliance that gave them the edge in defeating the 3rd seed. And the final upset on this side of the bracket was in the semis for the 7th seed against the 6th seed. I highly recommend you watch these matches because it's the first time I've seen a switch-oriented strategy work. Typically, if you don't contest the scale at all, then the entire alliance is just going to focus on switches, and you're not going to get anywhere. You're going to get you're both equally matched, but you still have the switch or the scale rather, so you're still getting those points. But with the 7th seed alliance, they were nonstop on the switch. They were putting cube after cube. I think I saw 7 cubes in their opponent's switch in the first 40 seconds of the match. They just couldn't come back from that because they had such a elevator and scale-oriented alliance. But in the finals, it came down to the 1st seed versus the 7th seed, and Titanium being Titanium, they were just too strong. And with 1723, who's amazing this year, and their 3rd robot of 1598, Sting R, they were just too much and finished off the finals with a clean sweep of eliminations. All was not lost, however, and 3284 managed to get a silver gold Kling Bling with their chairman's win as well. Just a couple shout-outs. 5082 Northman Robotics. They've been around for 5 years now, I think, and this is the first time they've actually been picked for eliminations, and they made it to the semifinals, almost to the finals. And then 6886, a rookie team that's been the 2nd seed for 2 events now. That's ridiculous. It's amazing. Their drivers are incredible. And then there were 3 other first-time captains at the event, 5013, 1763, and 5809. They were all Alliance captains for the first time at this event. So that was Kansas City. Let's move on over to Parth for Ontario.
Yeah, so this being only the 3rd district event in Ontario, there was lots of first-time plays still to be had. And that led to some issues with the AutoQuest bonuses as expected for first-time teams. Everyone's trying to tune it in. And with only 1.5 robots being able to face the boss, and I say 1.5 because one was a buddy climb, like lift another robot, the other is a buddy bar, so you're kind of reliant on your partners. But with not a lot of options to get bonus points, it came down really to who was going to optimize all those bonus RP. And I just want to throw a big shout out to Team 5406, who they built an ambitious robot last year, and they came pretty close to tuning it in and just having an outstanding season. But this year they've gone ahead and they've just built another strong robot, and it's absolutely amazing. Their robot can really play the game well, switch, scale, buddy climb. It's fantastic. Of course, you can't forget about Team 1114, a robot which for a second year in a row has an absolutely fast solo climb. And then you can't forget about teams like 1246, 1285, 4039, and many more who are ready to make this event tough with their second plays. During qualifications, many people would have guessed that 5406 would have locked in the number 1 seed with their buddy climb, and they wouldn't be wrong, as Celtex went several matches with bonus RP. And if you were not impressed by this robot already, take a closer look. They're fast, efficient, accurate, and they can get 4 RP, which is super crucial in this game. They would be an ideal power-up robot. They seed number 1. They would go on to pick the number 2 seed, 1114, a fast, efficient elevator robot in their own right. Despite having some electrical issues plaguing them through the qualifications, they swapped off essentially their entire control system in typical Symbiotics fashion in almost no time at all, and most of their issues were taken away by that, so kudos to them for doing that. The number 1 alliance was just too powerful, I think, at the Ryerson event, and they went on through quarters and semis with a bit of a breeze. The finals, Team 2706 Merge Robotics, did very well to try and fight 1114 in the scale, and you can see in the video, finals match 2, they tried very hard to win that scale back from 1114, but as we've been saying all year round on our show and other shows, scale battles are everything in this game, and autonomous is a great way to win the matchup. Team 1114 just too fast and doing almost 2 cubes in autonomous gave them enough of a lead that the number 1 alliance would go on to win in straight matches. Also, a huge shout out to our double Kling Blings or single Kling Blings, whatever. There were 2 teams with Kling Blings at the event. Team 2706 Merge Robotics winning their double Kling Bling. They won the EI and finalists, and Team 4039 Makeshift Robotics, who were finalists at the event and also won the Chairman's Award. Let's move on to Central Illinois.
All right. Central Illinois was stacked as always, and they had a whole bunch of surprises. 1756 Argos, after having a rough last year, came back with an amazing robot and was ready to dominate the competition. We have Robotiers, after having an amazing first regional, was also ready to put in the work to defend their home event. We had 3695 Foximus Prime, who kind of came out of nowhere and shot up the ranks, and they were doing amazing, as well as 4143 Mars Wards, ready to take what they learned from St. Louis and get that ticket to champs. And the end of the qualifications, it was 1756 Argos that took the first seed and opted for the always amazing 2481 Robotiers. Unfortunately, they were not able to secure 2220 as their third robot, as they have done for the past 3 years. Kind of killed the vibe a little bit, but nevertheless, they pushed onwards. Staying consistent throughout eliminations, it ended up being the second-seeded alliance of 3695 Foximus Prime and 2826 Wave Robotics to meet up with the first seed in the finals. Unfortunately, the second seed had a rough time in finals. Match 1, for example, their third robot, 4096, Control Z, broke down, and 2826 was dead on the field for a good 40-50 seconds of the match. Then for the second finals match, 4096 needed to be swapped out for 648, the Flaming Squirrels, and 2826 was still having issues in finals match 2. This combined with 1756 and 2481 just completely destroying and just being an absolute powerhouse alliance, especially with the third robot, 4645 Ex Machina, they pulled a clean sweep of eliminations. However, one shout out though to 4096, who snagged a silver gold Kling Bling. Big props to them.
Hey guys, can I just jump in real quick? I was emceeing Central Illinois, and I just want to say a huge shout out to 4645 because insider info here, they actually started taking apart their robot because they did not think they were going to get picked in the finals. So they get picked by the number 1 seed, and they have to reassemble almost their entire robot. I thought they were cheesecaking. I thought Roboteers were coming in and going to cheesecake that pot. No, they started taking it apart. So they got it back together, started playing, and took a win for the first time ever. I think that's pretty amazing.
Moreover, I just want to highlight with a quick minute here an amazing story that's coming out with the team known as the Afghan Dreamers. That's Team 7329. They are an all-girls team, or, well, mostly girls team that are coming from Afghanistan. You've definitely heard about them through the first global stories. They actually came to Canada, or rather Ontario, week 3. They built the robot, and now they're competing. I'm supremely impressed by these girls. If you're at the event and you get a chance to talk to them, please do. Their experiences are something that most of us probably can't relate to, but certainly draw inspiration from. And they're going to be coached by Mr. Thuvashan Rajagulasingam, Woody Flowers Finalist Award winner from 1241, and their former lead strategy mentor, Josh Shaveri. So this team is not just an inspiring story, but probably going to be a competitive robot to see at the York University event. Take it away, Dan. Dan, you're on mute.
I'm good. All right. It was an amazing story. I'm really excited to see the Afghan team play. But moving on to Greater Pittsburgh Regional, it's looking to be a great event. And as a former 2451 Ponage member, it's kind of like a family reunion. There were so many teams that I recognize that we've worked with in the past. 303 Test Team, 217 Thunder Chickens, 48 Delphi Elite, as well as knowing 3061 Husky Robotics very well. I can't wait to see what these teams bring to the table, as well as many other strong teams such as 4028, the Beak Squad, 3504, Girls of Steel, and 4522, Team Scream. A lot of competition, and I can't wait to see how Pittsburgh will play out.
All right, now back to Indiana. Second event in the Indiana district, and it's going to be a barn burner. 35 teams are heading into Plainfield, Indiana, hopes to get a lock in their spot in the state championship. Some teams can be near in their second event to look out for. Team 1024, 1747, 234, and 1018. Teams that are making their first appearance in the arcade this week. 1741 and 1720, and of course host team 3487. My sleeper pick for the event, 5403 Illuminosity. They killed it week 2. Definitely want to give them a shout out. So I'm definitely expecting better things for them this event as well. And I want to take the time to talk about the most slept team in Indiana for the past couple of years, Team 829, the Digital Goats. You guys saw them compete down there in California. They killed it. But this year in and year out, they feel a quality robot and get no love. If this team's not on your radar, it better be. That team is definitely going to make any deep playoff run this year, champs included. So we'll see.
All right. So I'll be covering the 14th straight FRC event that will be taking place at the University of Waterloo this coming weekend, and brings the top of the crop along with it. Of the 32 teams competing, 21 teams will be unveiling the robot to the world for the first time this season. Notable teams in that list include the perennial powerhouse Team 2056, OP Robotics, 2017 Tesla Division winners, Team 3683, 2016 Newton Division winners, 4678. And fresh off their performance in the Canadian Pacific Regional win, Team 1241 will be looking to pair up with their 2017 Curie Division winners to double up their banner count this season alone. It should be a good mix of scale bots and Volt bots that's going to make it an intense battle till the end. However, and we do have some teams that are competing for the second time this season in Team 2609 and 2852, who competed at the Barrie event earlier. They will have definitely taken some time to tune out the machines in the unback period this week, and look forward to seeing what they come up with. So let's talk a little bit about the top 10 teams that were voted by you guys. The chat, the people.
The peeps.
The popular vote.
I'll jump in. Team 1114, no surprise for me here. Despite electrical issues, they're top-tier robot, number 1 in Ontario. I'll just touch on the other Canadian teams in here. 5406 Celtex, also another great robot. I'm absolutely in love with this robot. Then you've got Makeshift Robotics and Merge Robotics and Theory 6. Lots of great Canadian teams on display here, and I'm not surprised one bit. I don't think anyone got snubbed, but hey, that's just my opinion.
Can we take the time and talk about the climb of Titanium from their first event to this event to just absolutely kill it and then get a top 10 mention at number 3? I mean, that's phenomenal.
Second to last at their first event to first seed now. Yeah, definitely. They had an amazing robot this year. They just need to work out some issues. Joining them on my list, though. Oops, sorry.
Well, I just wanna take a moment and acknowledge Team 4039 Makeshift Robotics. I think, correct me if I'm wrong, but they are the only team on this list of teams, I guess, that does not do the scale at all. They are a switch and volt only robot, and basically when I was reffing the Ryerson event this past weekend, every time they're on the field, they would do their 2-key bot on the switch, and in my head I would go, "Here come that boy to take your switch. What are you gonna do?" And all they did is they would just destroy the opponent's switch with like 6 to 8 cubes, match in, match out, and there was just absolutely nothing other teams could do. It was just unreal. I just want to give them a quick shout out. They've done really well this season so far.
Yep, for sure. I mean, just quick mentioning 2481 Roboteers, 1986 Titanium, 1756 Argos. All these are amazing teams. 1723 as well. A couple teams from Missouri, a couple teams from Illinois. A lot of recognition there. So we're actually going to have to wrap up right now. Thank you for tuning in to We the North. If you want more FIRST Robotics in your life and like what we do, all that we ask is that you let others know about this show and that this is the place you go to for more FRC in your life. If you got a few bucks to share, we appreciate it, but if not, it's cool. We're just delighted to have you on board. On behalf of myself, Parth, Praneeth, Lenny, and our producer Tyler, I would like to thank you for tuning in, and thank you all to our moderators. Thank you to all of our moderators in chat. Our next show is Best of the West. Talk to you next week on We the North Recap.